Okay, it looks like we are live. So welcome everybody to the Pollstar digital session. My name is Francisco Rendon, and we have a wonderful panel here to discuss the Latin explosion, the explosion of Latin music over the last several years in honor of the Latin Grammys coming up later this week. And we have an excellent panel, so we're gonna go ahead and just get right into it. We have Luana Pagani from SATRAC US. She was last year one of the Latin Recording Academy's leading ladies. And yeah, she's worked with a number of artists over the years and works with them in artist management, developing their career. And then we have Angie Martinez, who is one of this year's Latin Recording Academy leading ladies. She is an entertainment lawyer, and she works with a lot of clients as well. We'll get into some of the nature of her work. We have Simran A. Singh, who is an entertainment lawyer, also working with a lot of Latin clients. And he's also working as an executive producer on a number of television series that are gonna deal with the Latin music industry. We'll get into. We have John Pantel from Sound Talent Group, who is an agent representing a number of distinguished artists, including Residente, Calle 13, Natalia Lafourcade. But he's not just a Latin agent. We'll get into that more. And we have recording artist Carlos Vives, who's won a number of Latin Grammys over the years. He's got the album Cumbiana out in 2020, part of a 3-album series. I'm very excited to have all of you. Thank you so much for coming. This is very exciting. So as we get into this discussion, the first thing that I want to ask about is the explosion of Latin music. That you see the metrics for Spotify, for YouTube, and in terms of, obviously the money is not what it used to be because there's simply no touring right now, but by all the metrics that we judge popularity, we see that Latin music has grown over the past several years to a much more international audience, and the numbers are higher than they've ever been. So maybe we can start with Luana, who has seen this process happening for quite a while. Did you notice that there was a moment where you saw that, hey, this is becoming a much more global thing?
Well, I mean, I did, and I still do, but I also think that there are many factors. I think that the most important thing is the ability of the music to be able to connect with people. And in that spirit, I can say that probably one of the first songs that an artist that had a Latin explosion we have in our own panel, that is Carlos Vives. He had a Latin hit like all across Latin America and some countries in Europe with La Gota Fria, and it was back in 1993 when there was no Spotify, no all of that, no? But I really think that there are many factors. I think that it is a beautiful moment to be a Latin artist. And I also think that now that with the growth of social media and the platforms, it is so much easier to get your word across or get your music across. But still, I think that either Latin or non-Latin, the most important part is the ability of a song to connect with the audience. And I think that not every Latin artist or not every, let's say, general market artist is able to do that, no? So I believe a lot in the power of a song.
So let's go now to Mr. Vives, because like she mentioned, you've been around for quite a while and you've been having success for so many years now, decades, in the Latin music industry. And you were able to see what a hit looked like in 1993 versus right now. How has it changed, being a popular artist in 1993 to today?
Carlos, ¿cómo ha cambiado tener un hit en el 1998 a tener un hit en estos tiempos? ¿Has podido ver estas dos etapas?
No pienso mucho en eso, aunque por supuesto he visto cómo ha cambiado la industria con un poco más, digamos, se han expandido los espacios democráticos, digamos, de nuevos espacios A mí me tocaba trabajar en principio solamente con los medios convencionales del momento, buscar la radio, estar en los programas de televisión, en las promociones. La esencia no cambia, porque la esencia del artista no cambia el teatro alrededor de todo esto, pero hay nuevas posibilidades, nuevas formas para usar esa esencia del artista, para que el artista pueda llegar y ganarse un espacio en el corazón de la gente, de la audiencia, tener la mayor cobertura. Yo creo que ha cambiado, eso ha cambiado, como que está más abierto, más posibilidades, y siento que, pero que la esencia no cambia.
Okay, so I don't think that I think that much of what I have seen or what I have changed in the music industry. It had expanded the spaces where we can reach our music. I used to do more traditional media before, like television, newspapers, radio. Today, we see more possibilities with social media. We can reach new audiences, we can get more coverage, but the most important part is the essence of the music.
Yeah, the art doesn't actually change, and that connection doesn't change. That's really, it's profound, because it's like Luana was saying, that really has to be at the heart of it, right? Without good music and without the connection between the artist and the audience, it doesn't feel really meaningful. And so,
but respectfully, Francisco, I also think that it's a matter of the fact that, I mean, there's always been this great love for Latin music. I just think that the analytics has caught up to the demand. And you have to think about the fact that, you know, streaming services have been around a lot longer in the United States and in Europe than they have in Latin America. And even besides that, you have to think there's two other factors. One of them is the is the fact that the smartphone is now actually becoming more widespread. It's been used more widespread in Latin America. And then even if you did, and mind you, initially it was only like higher class people that had smartphones. And even if you had a smartphone, there aren't that many people, the credit cards aren't widely accessible in Latin America. So then you had to have a credit card to get a subscription to a music service. So I see that now it's becoming more user-friendly. And so you're seeing the numbers increase because of that on a worldwide level.
Right. And you were saying in the interview that you did with Pollstar that YouTube has been extremely popular, you know, with Latin audiences.
For all of those reasons, of those reasons. And mind you, you look at a YouTube now as opposed to where they were when Carlos started putting out music. That was just a promotional tool that they used on MTV or whatever. Now it's a requirement. You have to have it. And not only is it, you know, before it was a production cost. Now it's actually an investment, because so many people will listen to a song and view the video just because it's free.
Yeah. No, for sure, that makes a lot of sense. And you know, some of YouTube's most viewed videos, like I was shocked when I was doing research for this issue that the most viewed video on YouTube all time is Baby Shark. But right below that, it's Luis Fonsi and Daddy Yankee doing the Despacito original, not the Justin Bieber version. It's just so many people watch this content so much. It's the main way that it's consumed.
Yeah, and a lot of people will then just playlist the videos, and when it's a house party, they'll have it running in the background. And you know, when you don't have that many resources, you use what you have. And I think that the other thing is that music for a Latin person is like ham and cheese. It's like café con leche. It has to be a part of your daily diet.
Yeah, it's very true. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So moving on, I mean, John, you work with a bunch of different, you're not exclusive to the Latin music scene, and neither are a lot of people on the panel, but you talked in your interview about you work with a bunch of different artists and from different genres, and you try to apply what you learn in each one. So
yeah,
what are some of the things that you've seen Latin music do successfully to sort of see this increase in Spanish popularity?
Thank you for having me on the panel. I echo some of the things that Luana and Angie said in terms of the technological freedom that we have. The internet has made it possible for people to be in touch directly with Carlos, directly with Residente, directly with Zoe, directly with all of these artists in a way that they couldn't before. Decades ago, it was very difficult for an artist like Duran Duran, for example, to take on the entire world at once. They would release their records first in England, then they would release them in Europe, and then they would release them in Asia, the United States, and Australia, and the artist would do touring in that particular directive. We represented an artist a while back by the name of Lily Allen. And Lily Allen was a fantastic artist. She was an English R&B artist, really great stuff. And she was also very popular within MySpace. And at the time, MySpace was just starting. And MySpace, what it did through technology, it changed the entire landscape of touring. It changed the entire landscape of Latin artists only went to Latin. Cumbia was only in Colombia and then maybe just a little bit of Mexico. Due to the internet, due to the commodification and the freedom to distribute, Lily Allen was hitting in England at the exact same time she was hitting in Europe, as the exact same time she was hitting in Japan, the exact same time she was hitting in the United States, the exact same time she was hitting in Mexico City. It made her touring life absolute hell. And she was one of the first people to mitigate it and having to deal with the whole thing. But what it showed all of us at the time was that when an artist releases talent, when an artist creates a record, it impacts almost everywhere at the same time because people's interest, the grassroots interest, follows at the speed of light. There's a group I represent called Molotov. Their first record in Mexico City was kind of vulgar, kind of mundane, and it was a giant hit. It was something that kids loved. It was a huge hit in Mexico, but it got banned on a lot of radio stations. At the time, I was running a club called the House of Blues in Los Angeles. We started booking Molotov in the United States at Los Angeles at the House of Blues within 2 months of the record coming out in Mexico City. The label had not released the album in the United States. We put together these concerts by calling the band, calling the manager, saying, hey, we want you here in Los Angeles. We put these dates together at like a $30 ticket, sold out 2 shows at the House of Blues Los Angeles. Nobody outside of the atmosphere, outside of the people at that venue could figure out why. Why is this band doing this kind of impact? Because fans loved it, because fans heard about it. They were online with each other. They talked about it, and they started figuring out, we love this band. This band may be residing in another place. They may live in another area. Their record may not be available for us, but we like them. And as I'm sure everybody knows, this is the first year that the population in the United States of minors, everybody under 18, is going to be non-Caucasian. This is the first year in which the majority of people who are under the age of 18 are not going to be from the majority background. This is going to be a huge step as far as the demographics for the United States. And the Super Bowl follows this. McDonald's follows this. A lot of entities are watching to see what happens. It is a shift of demographics that is being fueled by the internet. And the great thing about it is, I don't think it's an asterisk anymore. I think that it's not as if this music is here to stay or anything like that. It always was here. I was doing some research on kind of the topic of the panel, the idea of the Latin explosion. People talked about the Latin explosion when Menudo was doing, when they got a television deal in the United States in 1983 for ABC. they were giant at the time in South America and in Mexico. But when it came here and ABC decided, let's plug it in to the Saturday morning cartoons, it was seen as a giant explosion. And when Santana did the record with Rob Thomas, that was giant. And that was a big deal. And there's so many great moments in which the Latin market has achieved greatness that I just find it to be the norm. And I think it's fantastic to watch a community of people so excited about what they're listening to and sharing it with other people. And it's great that corporate America is getting into it. I mean, corporate America follows money. That's what they do.
Sure.
And it feels to me like there's no more asterisks. And that's a great thing. I like it.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's definitely, there's definitely been continuous growth over the years, and we see it's reaching a new plateau now. And Simran, one thing I wanted to ask, because you represent so many artists, and a lot of them music is only in Spanish. Like, I don't think he's one of your artists, but I wrote about J Balvin this week, and he doesn't have a single song in English. But J Balvin is, being endorsed by McDonald's with a general market campaign. He's doing concerts in Fortnite, this video game. He's nominated for 13 Latin Grammys. He is this real huge worldwide artist. And so many artists that you work with similarly only do their music in Spanish, but even English speakers are listening to their songs and really love the artist now. Can you talk about how that's happened, how there has become a general market demand for Spanish?
Yeah, I think, it's interesting. I think it relates to a lot of what everyone's been speaking about. Is, John mentioned how the new majority of US, under 18 is going to be now non-Caucasian. That plays a big role into it. There's also the aspect that our music is now global, in the sense that people are now experiencing and have access, and because of all the streaming numbers and whatnot are so transparent now, both on YouTube, Spotify, that they're able to see, like, wow, why is this song now booming to the top of the global charts, where we have multiple Latin artists now that are, you can look at like the Spotify top global charts, you have probably like half of them, if not more, are Latin artists, competing against the biggest, non-Latin artists, including artists such as Drake, Bieber, Post Malone, and then you look at those charts and you see Daddy Yankee, Ozuna, Balvin, all these other guys up there as well. So I think just by that nature, and because there's so much interest in, growing cross markets as well, that people are interested in collaborating and getting access to new audiences around the world. I think it's just an interesting phenomenon. And then because all our culture is constantly, growing, mixing, and people want something new and fresh, and the beat is, just the beats behind it is, of its own. And then the music itself just moves people. So. Yeah.
But I also think that there's something to be said about the fact that good music is good music, irrespective of the language. I think it's an American thing, a USA thing, to just want to consume music in your own language. Because if you look at Latin America, if you look at the Rolling Stones, Bob Marley, they don't speak English. They don't know what they're saying. So many of my artists has asked me, what is Bob Marley saying here? And I was just beyond me, like, you like it, but you don't know what he's saying, and I think it's just a natural phenomenon for most people in the world. And I mean, I've seen Japanese fans that love salsa music. What is that? But there's a connection to the music, not necessarily to the language.
I agree with you. I remember when I grew up in Spain, and I remember when we were little, people would sing, well, the Rolling Stones or Bob Marley or anyone, but they really were not singing the lyrics. They were just, phonetically singing the songs. And then one day you realize that what you were singing was totally different from what you thought it was, no? it was, it's natural. We all listened to those songs and sang them as good as we could, no? Without knowing what they say. many of them, no? Sometimes you think you were like it was a dance song that was had a lyric and you thought it was super fun, and in reality it was like a social thing that you were singing, no?
Yeah. It's I do that even with songs in English, you know, even it's my first language, and I'll sing the words wrong for years, and then someone will tell me, you know, it's not actually saying that. Oh. So yeah, but it feels kind of like in studying this issue more and more, it feels very validating for a lot of people I talk to that Spanish culture and language is given that, where for so long there was this barrier where like people in the United States would only consume English music, because for so many people the United States is seen as like sort of the goal. Like you want to have success there, there's the big media, there's the big production, for whatever reason.
I mean, the jump off is the United States of America, because here, I mean, ultimately, you have the Univisions and the Telemundos of the world that are broadcast throughout Latin America. And so, you know, that is ideal. But speaking of Balvin, and just because I worked at EMI when Balvin was signed there before Universal took over, Balvin was a king in Colombia, you know? So I think there's something to be said that before they got to the United States, and I always say this to the artists that I work with, first, you want to be the king of your house, then the king of your block, the king of your neighborhood, the king of your city, and start expanding otherwise. A lot of artists think, oh, okay, well, let me just, and mind you, it's a lot easier to do now because of social media, but I think you tienes que cosechar tu tierra. You have to, you know, take care of your backyard first, make sure that you have a firm foundation, and then expand from there.
Well, I think that appeals to many of the Latin or any other artists that have been successful in the U.S., like Carlos or Shakira or Balvin or any of those. First, they were super successful in their own country, and then they could conquer, let's say, other markets.
Well, and this is a thing that is unique to Latin music, because there are so many different countries that speak Spanish and Portuguese as well, right? I mean, we definitely consider Brazil a part of Latin America and a part of Latin music. And so there's so many different even languages, but cultures within Latin America. And there's this exchange that happens now through media that is very unique. I wanted to go to Carlos first, because Cumbiana, the album is sort of it's about this, the evolution of the traditional music, mixing it in with new influences. And I'm just curious how we see different kinds of cultures coming together in Spanish language music specifically, from like Puerto Rico. You have all the reggaeton stuff in Colombia where that's happening now, and you have other influences coming in. How are you taking, how is the music evolving as it continues to grow?
Carlos, en tu nuevo álbum de Cumbiana, hablas de cómo dentro de los mismos países tenemos diferentes culturas, diferentes ritmos, en donde hiciste el estudio de unir diferentes géneros musicales. ¿Cómo crees que la música latina ha evolucionado?
Yo creo que la música latina evoluciona a medida que se busca a sí misma, ¿no? Cuando uno busca la historia del reggaetón o de las corrientes urbanas, que son las corrientes que más escuchamos hoy, que más like tienen y más views y más todo, vamos a encontrar irremediablemente ese origen criollo, ese origen folk, que al estar conectado con todo el poder del hip hop, de la música que en Estados Unidos sonaba y que llegó con los nuevos computadores o con los nuevos instrumentos que yo llamo nuevos instrumentos, se da uno cuenta que el poder de la música sigue siendo algo ancestral. Más depende de lo ancestral, ¿sí? Porque al final cuando uno estudia el hip hop, tarde o temprano vas a tener que ir abajo y vas a llegar al blues y vas a encontrar el Mississippi y vas a encontrar el ska y vas a encontrar el zydeco y vas a encontrar lo que son las folclores de la música norteamericana, y cómo con cada tiempo que trae sus instrumentos florece, digamos, nacen corrientes de música. Lo mismo con la música latina. Lo que pasa es que, claro, yo vengo de un proceso muy local en Colombia, de un proceso muy local que empezó a buscar en las roots, en las percusiones de las cumbias, de los vallenatos, de los porros, de los chandés, aplicarlos a los instrumentos modernos. En mi época, guitarras eléctricas, hoy en día sintetizadores y computadores. Cumbiana es lo mismo de que yo empecé, el mismo feeling desde mis comienzos, pero hoy sumando computadores y nuevos sintetizadores, y se oye moderno, pero se siente como con los espíritus de siempre, ¿no? Es lo que yo siento. Entonces, hay que entender que lo urbano, muchas del poder que tiene la música urbana viene de conectar con los nuevos sonidos, patrones y roots, el dembow, en Jamaica, en el sur de Estados Unidos, Panamá, que está en el origen del reggaetón, que están las primeras corrientes, se dan en Panamá y tienen involucrados cumbias, tamboritos, lo local, con esa inspiración y esa fuerza que traía el hip hop, que traía el dembow, que traían todas las corrientes pero yo no quiero alargarme, pero quiero un poquito hacer la diferencia porque al final nosotros le debemos mucho al emigrante, al hombre que se fue a Estados Unidos. El puertorriqueño emigró, tiene una relación histórica en la industria, desde que nace la industria del sonido con Estados Unidos. Cuando el cubano vino a esta zona de Miami, cuando el colombiano emigró, para mí ellos fueron mi departamento de mercadeo, porque ellos se trajeron mis discos a Estados Unidos. Entonces, de alguna manera, nosotros un poquito ese trabajo que han hecho la cultura latina en un país como Estados Unidos, esa confianza que se fue ganando por su trabajo, por su don de gentes, ¿sabes? Eso es algo que después mi generación aprovechó. Y para mí, que trabajé en Puerto Rico muchos años, me sirvió mucho tener el cariño del puertorriqueño para proyectarme en un país como Estados Unidos. Pero al final, mi música latina, y especial esa esencia que tenemos de las cumbias y los vallenatos, son muy latinoamericanos, y me pude conectar con los dominicanos, con los puertorriqueños, con los cubanos, con los mexicanos, con el peruano. Sienten nuestra música muy propia porque tienen mucho de esas raíces americanas originales de nuestros países en Latinoamérica. Entonces ok, sorry. Perfecto. Sorry.
Okay, so translating. I believe,
Beautiful.
but I was like,
No,
I believe
entendimos
in,
bien. Yeah.
I believe in evolution. And when you search for the music itself, when you search the reggaeton history, you will find the folk. We find in the origins of the hip hop, we find Creole. When they arrived to America and the immigrants, we found their sounds mixing with new instruments. And when you go to our music, we listen to our ancestors. For example, hip hop has blues, Mississippi has the folklore, and that's where the new music has born. I come from a local process from Colombia. When you see the roots, the percussion, the vallenato, I come from the electric guitars, but that feeling hasn't gone when you add the computers. You're laughing, Francisco, but that's fine.
No, I'm not laughing. I'm enjoying.
Okay, you have the same spirit when you connect the urban music with the new sound of the dembow, when you connect the Panamanian music, when you see the hip hop merging with reggaeton. We owe that to the immigrants. Since the music came here to America, the Cubans arrived to Miami and they brought their music. Colombians moved to USA, they brought my albums, and they were our promoters with confidence. When I worked in Puerto Rico, I learned to love the music for so many years. and it helped me to understand the music from the Caribbean. And I connected them with the Mexican, with the Peruvians, with Argentinians, with the Spanish, and that's how the music evolved.
It's just really beautiful. Thank you for translating, Mina. That's a beautiful job. And it's you know, Carlos's comments are so beautiful to me because you really see this idea of culture, really all these different cultures, the history and the current, because young people have a huge influence on culture. But the connection between young people making their current sort of version of the music, but taking those influences from the past, and then talking to each other from different parts of the world, it creates this new culture that hasn't existed before, something very beautiful that draws from so many different histories, you know? And the fact that that's happening in Spanish, I think, and these different cultures are coming together. Like even in Argentina, they have this really cool hip hop scene that's emerging that is drawing from, you know, traditional influences as well as like reggaeton and Latin trap, all this different stuff. But you really are starting to see a new, very rich culture emerging that incorporates old and new influences. And I think a lot of people are really attracted to that.
I think it's important to that. I mean, besides Carlos, you see a Rosario that mixes flamenco and mixes urban elements and has that urban swag and attitude, but there's still like a reminiscence to traditional Spain and castañuelas, and you know, it's different.
It's not, there's a richness there that's not lost. And yeah, you're taking from the best from all these different things. It's really quite beautiful. And yeah, I wasn't laughing at your translation at all, Mina. I was just
maybe
really
the breadth of it.
No, but that was fun. No, that was fun.
It was so beautiful what he said that it was really hard to translate that feeling, but you could. I love that. In a sense, what you were saying is that the roots and the truth to that roots is what interconnect the people. I love that.
All the music is roots.
Mm-hmm.
The modern music is from the roots. You know, there are beautiful history in South and the Mississippi, the jazz in Chicago and New York. You know, the history is very rich.
Yeah,
you know, it's very rich. It's many information for the new generations. No,
yeah,
the new machines and synthesizers. No,
yeah, and it's even though it sounds different if you don't know what to listen for, when the artist can see that is the same, the roots is always there and it comes out.
Look, now the new generation take the old songs, you know, and they try the new songs. The old song is beautiful song, no, the classics, the American music, the classics. Now take the young people take the old songs and the free whoa, no. In the new generation, wow, beautiful, the new song.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. And I'm so glad you joined us, Carlos, because so often these panels are about the business, but I'm so grateful to have the art sort of represented, because that's so much at the core of everything. Like the connection between the artist and the audience is the most important part of this industry. And I'm so glad that we're always able to keep that at the forefront of the discussion. Yeah, but anyway, let's keep, so moving on. So what are some of the things that we are excited about? Obviously, we mentioned before the call, touring would be very nice. But moving forward into 2021, what are some of the things we're excited about? Maybe Luana, you could start us on this one as well.
Well, of course, and hands down, it's touring, but it's not only, well, in many ways, touring. First of all, because there's nothing like seeing an artist live. I mean, there's nothing like that magic. And as was Angie was saying, it's also, I mean, where the most important things in your life happen, no? You know, but that magic, that seeing the artist live and connecting, and probably not as perfect as as a recording, but yes, beautiful in the sense of that connection, that for sure. Also, and on the business side and probably the human side, not to have the anguish of there's so many people that are suffering because they do not have any money. I mean, the crews, the staff, the people that on the road, the bus drivers, all that industry that's really suffering. I'm very excited to make it, you know, that will change, and we will go back to having people working and proud of what they can do and happy about it. That I'm very looking forward to. And on the other hand, musically, I think that as Carlos was beautiful saying, I will never be able to say it so beautifully. Um, to continue with that blend, that alchemy that's going on between the traditional roots and the new sounds and the mix and the amount of people that, as he very well said, emigrated into the US and created that new world in a sense, no, a world of people that are not only or Mexicans or Colombians or whatever. It's like that Mexican, Colombian, African root, jazzy root, whatever, creating this new music, no? So that is what I'm excited about.
Yeah, and John, you mentioned you were excited about some of the discussions that were happening about vaccinations as well, and the idea that, you know, we would there is some real hope that we'd be able to move forward with the business. Yeah.
Yeah, the Pfizer issue on Monday, followed by the Moderna thing today. I mean, it's so great that we've got a possibility to be free of this. It's very strange to be in a role of some sense of administration within this industry right now, where, you know, our job is to communicate with other buyers, managers, artists, crew, production, venues, and yet thousands of people are dying every day. And having to carry this pragmatic sense of optimism when we see what's happening, it's very grinding. It's very difficult, and I think it's bringing out the best in me, and I hope it's bringing out the best in a lot of people. But when we're going to be free from this, when the great pause is over, and hopefully the Moderna will bring that to North America, to South America, to Mexico, to Australia, to Japan, to all of these places in the world, it's going to free us to be able to be live, to be able to not just be on a screen, but to be in person and to share ideas. And I think it's great that we can do live stream shows and that we can do drive-in shows, and that's kind of fantastic. But when this thing comes out, people are going to be so happy. I think the RIAA, their numbers of what they're expecting, and the Goldman Sachs report of what they're expecting the music industry is going to do, it's going to fly. Already streaming is doing well. I know for a lot of our bands, they've spent this time building their religion, building their congregation, getting their live, they're doing some live streams, but building their community, selling merch, keeping in touch with everybody. And I think this is a golden moment for a lot of artists. For J Balvin to do a deal with McDonald's, I would have never thought something like that could happen. And it's fantastic to see, like, Tecate doing the deal that we just did with Natalia Lafourcade for the live streams. There are some great things coming out. And when we are able to go past the computer screen, when we're able to go past that and go to real life, it's going to be great. And I know the hard work that all of us are putting into is going to pay off. I think it's going to be great.
All right. Yeah. And Angie, anything to add to that? Things
Well,
we're excited for?
I mean, I'm excited that we're going to put this behind us, but I say that to say a couple of things. Number one, when I'm working with artists, sometimes I'll tell them, hey, in a worst case scenario, maybe you shouldn't make that huge expenditure because you never know what can happen, you know? So now it's tried and true that yes, you might have 100 dates booked out for the next couple of years, but that might all go to shit, respectfully. Number two, I think that we're coming back to the market on steroids. I think this is touring 2.0. I think that the artists are going to have so much more material now to perform that I don't know if there should be like 2 nights for, there's some artists that are coming out to perform 2 albums worth of new material plus their catalog hits, So I think that that's part of it. But I also just think that the last pandemic we had was earlier 1900s. And so we don't have any, I think we were building the ship as we were flying it, So it's like, I think that now that we have this point of reference, to the extent that we have to go through it again, at least we have some type of guidance as to what we can, at a minimum, fall back to in the future.
Yeah. And Simran, just the same question. What are you looking forward to in 2021?
2021, yeah, I mean, what I'm looking forward to, I think, is getting concerts kicked up again. I don't know what that's going to look like. I think it's impossible to predict, and what kind of way, shape, and form they're going to take, and with all precautions and whatnot, and just a lot more content, and not only content on the music side, but content on the film and TV side as well, So I think there's going to be some great projects expanding the realm of Latin content and film and TV as well, that are also, cross hybrids with music, whether it's Selena or other mega artists, that are going to start either featuring in biopics or stuff that is, purely fictional as well, So I think it's going to be interesting to continue to see how what's happened in music happens in other aspects of the industry as well, other sectors.
I'd like to ask you a little bit more about that, because I know that with the Selena thing and the what is it called?
Bravas.
The Bravas thing, the series that you have in production right now. Selena, there's a very famous movie about her starring this actress called Jennifer Lopez. I don't know if so. But you still felt like there was a need to tell her story in this way and to have this content. Well, and this Bravas thing is talking right about the urban Latin music industry. Right. I mean, what made you want to put yourself in there in that executive producer position and put money on this? I mean, what made that so attractive?
For me, it's, I'm just I feel like there's only a few places to go with Latin content. Well, prior to these large streaming platforms becoming interested, like Netflix, Amazon, there was only the Telemundo, Univision, Azteca, and so I also felt like, and no knock on them, but I felt like the content why was the content not as high quality as the content that you see on Netflix? Narcos, I think, kind of set the segue and led us into like, wow, you could have Spanish language content with a big budget, that still demonstrates the quality that, the non-Latin market, the Anglo market was experiencing. So I was very passionate about making that a possibility and turning things up a notch. Yes, Selena's Warner Brothers film did a tremendous, it's like expand your legacy, but it was also left a lot out of the story. And that's why the family and I felt very passionate about that there was more to the story than was told or seen. And, it's going to be super exciting to see that roll out next month, and I think, with Bravas, for example, like, yeah, if you remember like the hip hop days, or I'd say, I guess in the 90s, there's a lot of classic films that came out around that time, that were demonstrative of like where music was in hip hop at that time. So why isn't there music now? I mean, television and film showing where music is right now, for a whole Latin movement that's happening, and that's really where, I see a void, and I want to deliver that content most. And I know Angie's super passionate about that as well. So.
Very exciting. And is that content going to be in Spanish?
Yes. Yep.
Excellent.
Well, Selena, she actually grew up speaking in English first, so it's going to be bilingual. I think a lot of this stuff is going to be bilingual, but then some stuff is going to be only Spanish, to keep to its organic roots. So,
Angie, you even mentioned that you think like Spanglish stuff is becoming more of a thing in itself, right? Mixture between English and Spanish. It's how people speak and live their lives, and so there's more media coming out like that.
I mean, like when you think, you just have to. I think people who I personally live by a moniker. I speak 4 languages: English, Spanish, legalese, and street. And I think that for what we do, you have to be able to translate amongst all of them. And I think there's something to be said about great talent that that is great acting talent. And sometimes, you just want them to act in their native language. Even though they can speak another language, it feels forced and it feels like they're playing a role. So I think that if it comes naturally, absolutely. I think that you connect to 2 different markets. And I think you also have to get into the psyche of someone who might understand Spanish, but might not necessarily speak it, because I think there's a distinction there. But yes, I think that Spanglish is the way of the world. I know that for a lot of 2nd, 3rd, 4th generation Latinos, that's part of it. And I think that there's also a lot of honorary Latinos, like a Simran Singh, who isn't Spanish by birth, but speaks Spanish because that's how, because he loves it so much.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're getting into the last 15 minutes. So I would be remiss if I didn't ask Angie and Luana, you both been nominated as Latin Recording Academy's Women of the Year. And Angie, in your interview with Pollstar, you talked about how you've seen over the course of your career women getting an increased role in terms of artists, whether it be Rosalia, Becky G, Karol G, or and professionals as well. There has increasingly been a space for women to have more of a role in the music industry. Can you talk a little bit more about that as you've seen it change over the years?
I mean, I grew up a hip hop kid, so I love hip hop, and Latin music was something that was always kind of in the background that is now in the forefront. But for me, it's just interesting. Well, I think that in general, female artists, a lot of labels don't want to work with a female artist because they're more high maintenance. And I mean this to say, you need to have a hair person, you need to have a makeup person, you need to have, ultimately, believe me, there's a lot of male artists out there that have their stylist, that, they have to, their kicks have to be a certain point. But I also think it's just been difficult, and especially in the urban market, for there to be strong female voices, just because they can't be too tough where they're not sexy, but they also, have to you want to be able to be their best friend as a female fan, so it's difficult for, I think, urban artists to fill that role. But I think more and more you're seeing artists do it. I think there's just a certain maturity level that people now have regarding sexual liberation, freedom, etc., that perhaps before female artists had to be a little bit more buttoned up about.
That's very true. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add, Luana, having been honored as a leading lady of the Latin Recording Academy last year?
Well, to Angie's point, I really think that it's true regarding hip hop. Of course, I think it's true. It was harder for women before because a woman, in a general sense, is not supposed to be openly sexual, which is interesting, no? But it's not supposed to, like Cardi B or Becky G or any of the I'm talking about 2 different people, no? But that's that of what Angie was saying. Well, it was really great. I think that women are growing a lot they're having more space in the music business. I think it comes with a responsibility too. And I think that, I think we're doing a good job. We are, I think that I remember when I started my career, any woman that worked in a company was, or I started working on a label, was either usually an assistant, and then you grew into some position, and now there are so many good, wonderful entry positions for women in this business that I'm very proud of it. I'm very happy. And I think
I started as an intern, and this is what I always say to people, and especially a lot of artists that only want to speak to the top level artists, to the top level executive, to the president, the vice president. I was a receptionist, so you never know down the line, and you treat people with respect at all stages of their life.
Exactly, that's very true. That's very true. You're right. You're right. So, but now I think that women have more now, particularly with the digital business, I think that there are many women that have the opportunity of getting into the business in entry positions in a different position than, I'm not gonna say bringing the coffee, but kind of.
Yeah. And Angie, there's a ceremony today honoring the Latin Accordion.
Yes, there is. And I say this just because I'm the only, non-television personality on there. And, I think that as a whole, not including Carlos, because obviously he's a legend, but Luana, John, Cimarron, and I are usually the behind the scenes crew, so this is really the first opportunity that I get. And mind you, they normally do it as a part of a luncheon. So I missed out not having a luncheon, but definitely being able to have all of my extended family from Spain, from Los Angeles, and they all be able to be a part of it, I think is very special.
It is. Well, I was also the non-TV person, and it's really weird, no? Because all the others are used to, being on stage, and we usually are never on stage, no?
No, I know. And there was a green screen, and I had a makeup artist. I was like, wow, this is amazing. It's my turn.
The two of you were going to outshine them. They can't have that. The system won't allow it. You're too good.
I appreciate that, John. Check it in the mail. Thank you.
Send it to STG. We're good.
Let's see here. I've gotten a message that we have a question. In light of everything we've discussed, Carlos, can you talk about the global success of La Bicicleta, working with Shakira on that and seeing that blow up into such a giant success?
Sí, es algo increíble, la verdad, porque bueno, yo creo que el factor Shakira fue importantísimo para hacerla muy global, porque Shakira trabaja en un mercado mucho más grande del que yo trabajo, ¿sí? Que es el mercado hispano, el mercado en español, y ella está en el mercado anglo. Entonces, por supuesto, sus números, porque al final, pues, hoy se define por números muchas cosas del éxito de las canciones. Entonces, con Shakira somos muy viejos amigos y siempre habíamos querido hacer algo juntos. Y cuando escribí ese vallenato desesperado, que era La Bicicleta, pues simplemente ella le encantó la idea y, por supuesto, le aportó a la canción mucho power y el éxito de ella, ¿no? Sus cifras y un mercado al que a lo mejor yo hubiese hecho solo esa canción y no hubiese sido exactamente lo mismo en cifras, ¿no? Porque es estar con una artista que está también en otros mercados en los que uno no está.
Okay, so La Bicicleta, the Shakira factor, making maybe the global factor. I come from the Latin world. She's marketing more in the Anglo world. Her numbers are amazing, global numbers. And today, our music sometimes is defined because of the numbers. Shakira and I are old friends, and when I wrote Vallenato Desesperado, Shakira immediately jumped on the track and became La Bicicleta. And she added her power, her numbers, her fan base. Maybe if I have recorded myself, wouldn't have had the same success. But when we created together, it was a global explosion.
Thank you for that. So everyone, we are in the last 5 minutes of our panel. So I'm just going to go around and give anybody the opportunity to share anything else that we haven't touched about the Latin music industry, or in general, just things you have coming up that you're excited about. Let's start with Simran.
Sorry, what was the question again?
Oh, Lord, Simran, come on now.
What? Ask me again, please. No. What am I like? What's coming up? Or what am I excited about again? Or
Yeah. I mean, just any closing thoughts, anything to summarize what we've discussed. Anything else you have coming up that you wanted to plug?
Closing thoughts are Latin music's going to take over the world, and if you're not part of it, you're going to miss out. So I think there's just going to be more and more mega stars like the Bad Bunnies of the world, you know, and I think there's going to be new artists coming, you know, next year that are going to make a lot of noise, you know, and it's going to be exciting to see and be a part of that journey, to see someone start from early on. You know, don't always just look for the top guy, you know, because there's guys that are going to be coming with super talented artists that are coming all the time, you know, with new music, new concepts, you know, new sounds. And I think this is the beginning of a long road ahead for the Latin music world.
And Luana, I know you do artist development at every stage, so maybe you could follow. Any closing thoughts?
Well, I agree with him. I think that there's a lot of good things coming our way. I mean, I look forward to develop new artists and to continue working with the artists that are the pillar of the music at this time. I work with a lot of Mexican artists, and they are a driving force also in the United States, which is and in Latin America. It is an honor for me to do that, and I think that we are all going to be, I think that Angie said this, I think that we are all going to be so thrilled to do the things that we used to do a year ago, like get on a plane, go to a show, I don't know, release a record, go to to a press conference, see people, be able to hug them, to enjoy them, and go to the Latin Grammys next year to Vegas as we did all these previous years, no? So I'm looking forward to all that. I'm looking forward to get out of the computer a little bit and get back to the real life.
John, any closing thoughts, John?
Use this moment. Use the great pause. Use the slowdown to recreate what you want your relations to be with your artists, with your managers, with how you connect with people, with your mailing lists. Use the time that we've got. It's so easy for us to be frustrated and to feel as if we're in the middle of an epidemic, which we are. Use this time to recalibrate your strategies. And I've been saying that to all of my artists, to pay attention to what's out there and utilize what you're seeing, what like La Buena Fortuna is doing in Puerto Rico, creating a movement, working with each other to make it great. Having artists work together, and just what Angie said, creating more material right now, what Simran was saying, what I'm sure Carlos is doing, creating material, incubating, making the best version of ourselves. And when we can release it, it's going to be great. And I really feel great about the future.
Thank you.
Okay. And Angie, any closing thoughts?
You know, this is very random, but I actually am looking forward to next year. I mean, besides not having to do virtual schooling, I think there's going to be I think that the sleeping bear is going to wake up insofar as Mexican rappers. I mean, it's Mexicans make up the majority of the Latin population in the United States, but if you think about it, there aren't that many known artists, at least not in the US, that have the type of Univision and Telemundo support that the Puerto Rican artists, Colombian artists have, notwithstanding. And I think that speaks to Latino audiences where I don't think that there's any borders really when it comes to supporting artists. And the great thing about Latin music for me is that whereas I still feel that although there's an explosion on DSPs, it's still underrepresented by way of numbers, but that's where you know when you have fans, because Latin fans will go up, they will bring their entire family, they will buy that t-shirt, they will have dinner at the show, and they will make it an event. Like, this is not just going to catch a show because I have nothing to do on a Thursday. This is a thing, you know? And I think that because we're so family oriented and we're so loyal, and that's one of the things that I can speak to, having artists that are not Spanish speakers, or Latin artists and general market artists. In the general market, and I don't know if maybe it's the new generation, it's the ADD factor of social media where it's here now, gone tomorrow. You know, if you don't have a hit in the general market 4 months after your last hit, you're gone. Who cares? See you later. But in the Latin market, and I just say this because I remember working with Diego, and he hadn't had an album in 7 years. And he was still touring in Colombia, in Peru, all over, you know, Europe. And they waited 7 years and they were still going to a show, you know, and they're still supportive. And so I think it's just, I'm excited at the contagiousness of our music and of our culture. That's it.
Excellent. Yeah. And Carlos, any closing thoughts?
Thank you. Thanks for everything. Sí, decirles que digamos que yo represento una región, un territorio, a una gente que nos dio la oportunidad de trabajar en este país, que acercó nuestra música a la cultura de este país, que siempre estuve agradecido con ellos por eso. Que nada, los invito a que nos conozcan un poco más allá en nuestras casas. Digamos, la música latina es mucho más grande que lo que escuchamos en todas las posibilidades que tenemos hoy, ¿no? Digamos, porque yo trabajo dentro de la comunidad, desde la comunidad, con músicos de diferentes regiones de mi país, y digamos que el hecho de que yo haya escogido un poco trabajar allí, quedarme allí sin expectativas de viajar en un principio, eso me enseña mucho, porque al final escoger ese camino de quedarme en mi casa fue lo que llamó la atención en un país como este, y me trajeron, y digamos que he tenido una relación muy bonita de muchos años, de tener la oportunidad de seguir luchando para mantenernos vigentes, porque las nuevas generaciones vienen desplazándonos o desplazando a otras generaciones. Entonces, al final, ese espíritu latino que tienen nuestros países, creo que es importante conocerlo, valorarnos allá en nuestro territorio, porque ese espíritu fue el que se trajeron los cubanos, se trajeron los colombianos, trajeron, ¿saben?, los puertorriqueños. Es un espíritu que siempre está en nuestra música, la hagamos en el idioma que la hagamos. Hay algo muy especial de nuestra gente que heredamos, que trajimos a este país, ¿no? Y que lo vemos en nuestra manera de trabajar, en nuestra forma de ser cariñosos con este país. A propósito de celebrar Thanksgivings, como si eso nos hubiera pasado a nosotros en nuestros países, y lo hacemos con el mismo cariño. Así que Happy Thanksgivings para todos. Y bueno, nada, contento de que nuestra música nos ayuda a acercarnos más, a conocernos más, como cuando decía Angie, que nosotros cantábamos nuestras canciones allá en inglés, no importa, no entendíamos a lo mejor qué decía, pero recibíamos ese espíritu que nos daba felicidad, que nos enamoraba de la música, viniese en el idioma que viniese. Yo recuerdo ese particular forma de ser nuestra, de no ser excluyentes con nada, sino recibir todas las cosas de todas partes con mucha alegría. Eso nos gustaría mucho que nos conocieran más, que pudiéramos superar muchos años también de prejuicios y de cosas. Y nuevamente, nada, darle las gracias a la industria de este país que nos ha permitido hacer conciertos buenos, con mucha calidad, estar en escenarios increíbles que nunca hubiese soñado en mi vida estar, ¿no? Como el Madison Square Garden, el Radio City, el Hollywood Bowl, el Wolf Trap en Washington. Es decir, hemos recibido mucho cariño con nuestra música en español, hemos tenido la oportunidad de hacer cosas buenas, importantes y traer ese mensaje de amistad, de cariño y de agradecimiento por la industria de este país, que siempre nos abrió las puertas y que hemos sido muy felices. Muchas gracias.
Okay. So I choose to stay home.
Maina.
I choose to stay home, and brought to my attention to when I decided to live in Colombia, to my music in this country. The Latin spirit is important, and it's important to learn the spirit of the Cubans, the spirit of the Puerto Ricans, the Colombians, the Mexicans that brought the music to this country. Even though we now celebrate Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving to all of you. Happy that our music brings us together, as Angie said. I remember the music to be inclusive with joy, and I would love people to forget about prejudice. Thanks to the music industry in America, that I have been able to perform at places as Radio City Music Hall, Hollywood Bowl, among others, and always has opened the doors for all of us.
Gracias. Thank you so much, all the panelists. Maina, you did a great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Not easy.
Thank you, Maina.
Yeah. And yeah, I want to thank everybody for participating in this panel. I had a great time. I learned a lot. I think we got to share some really cool stuff. This is going to be available at Facebook, Pollstar's Facebook page, and on YouTube as well. At any time, people can watch it. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.